Nice. We get to start off with a bunch of noise right off the bat. People honking their horns outside. Anyway, all right. Welcome everyone. Free Trying to Post, episode 20. We got to it. We're in. Not only did we make it to double digits, but now we're double digits. So yeah, we have special guest Karl Forehand, aka my father, in not in studio, in halfway across the world in his house.
My studio.
I'm in my house. Yeah, in your studio. So you're also in. We're both in studio, but not the same studio.
Yeah, such as it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would love to fly you out, but I mean, I'm not that independently wealthy yet.
It's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Give me another 10 years. I'll try to get it. Maybe I can pay for half your ticket or something.
There you go.
How's it been going? We did episode 10 with you, and now you're back on for 20. So this is a good routine we got. We may have to just keep this up every 10 episodes. Just have you back on.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if it did much for my career. I'm unemployed right now, or between jobs, making the transition. So anyway, I don't know how those two things are connected, but
yeah. So maybe we killed your career. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it.
Maybe it's not good for you to be on here.
I don't think it had too much to do one thing with another, but it happened simultaneously. But it's good that I've got lots of free time right now.
That's right. It's good for us. Good for our listeners.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So.
Not that I didn't have time before.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say you have a lot to live up to because we had Scarborough on the last episode. So.
Oh really? So
I finally got him on.
I can guarantee I probably won't be as funny as him.
He's really funny. He put up some of his stand-up. He sent it to me because I asked him about it. And he finally, I guess, because I think he said it's really hard to record, obviously, in the clubs. You have to get the mics right and everything. And he said it was really hard, but he finally got a decent setup. I mean, it's only a few minutes of material, but it's really funny. I laughed a lot. So.
That's good.
Yeah.
Someday I hear it. We almost went to a show of his in Kansas City, but it didn't work out. Something else was on the same night. But yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be doing it for a long time, and it seems like he's doing more and more. So
yeah,
I'm sure he'll have more shows.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was really funny. Also, his band is really good. Den Mothers is also really good. I was just listening to them before we started the podcast.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, so hopefully by next week I'll have his episode up because we're so backlogged because we had New Year and at the exact same time I was moving. So I was like in flux for like a week where I was like half moved out of my other apartment but kind of still sleeping there. And then I moved into this apartment. I didn't have hot water for 3 days, and then I didn't have internet for like almost a week. So, but now everything's set up. So I have, let's see, I just posted 16 yesterday. I have 17 finished editing that I need to upload probably tomorrow. I have 18 and 19 that actually I don't have Scarborough's audio yet because he has to give me permission to get it from his Google Docs. So I just got the audio for 18, and then I have Scarborough's 19. So then, and now we got 20. So I have like four episodes I still need to upload.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully I'll have his episode up.
So how's the new apartment?
It's good. I mean, it's starting to become a home. AKA, there's like my dirty laundry on the floor and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm mostly moved out of. I have most of the boxes unpacked, and it's becoming a house. It's comfortable. It's pretty old, and like it's really not actually dirty, but it kind of looks dirty just because it's so old.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's comfortable for me. It's a studio apartment, but it's big, and I got a bathroom and shower and everything, and it's about all I need.
Yeah. So what officially makes it a studio? What qualifies for a studio?
I think a studio just, as far as I understand it, just ends up being it's just one room and maybe a bathroom.
So,
but it's just one big room.
So everything's right there.
Yeah, everything. Maybe after we get off the pod, I'll send you some pictures. But it's actually pretty big for a studio.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn how to do the conversion, but in Taiwan for like apartments, they use this thing called ping, which is like meters cubed, I think.
Okay.
It's 16 ping, so it's actually it's pretty good size, and like I don't know, it feels nice because like I have I bought it because I was debating back and forth whether to buy a TV or a projector because there's no TV in the apartment, and so I ended up deciding on a projector. So I have like right now I'm recording on the projector because I can't find the cord for my monitor. It's in one of the boxes that I have, I think.
Okay.
So, but it feels it's nice. Like I've watched a couple movies and I can just lay on my bed and watch like basically like a 90 inch
Like
TV.
being at a drive-in, right? Drive into your
exactly.
room.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It's just lay back and watch that, and yeah, I recommend. I don't know. It was kind of on the fence. I think you originally got me into projectors when you were like getting them for like the churches when we were younger.
Yeah,
Kind of were
probably
like, yeah,
so.
this is good, actually good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And mine has like full HD It has 3D. Not that I could probably ever use that, but it's cool.
I've been trying to. That just makes me think about video games. I've been trying to resist video games when I'm trying to find a job and reorient my life and things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
There's a couple that are out
I
right
don't know,
now that are tempting.
I go back and forth on that because like recently I've been replaying through GTA 5 and it's just so engrossing. Like it's like a movie and a book and also an interactive experience like all tied into one. And it's just like the maybe I think it was Monday and Tuesday I was just like no Jordan, no video games for you. Like you need to record a podcast with Aaron and then edit at least two.
Yeah.
If you edit two, then you
Do
can play
your
some video
homework
games
first.
until you record the next one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I've been staying moderately disciplined because now that I have internet, I don't have an excuse not to like be uploading podcasts and stuff. So
Yeah.
but what video games are you referring to? If
Well,
I may inquire.
I mean, the two would be Battlefield 5 and Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah, man. The only reason I haven't sunk about 60 to 80 hours into Red Dead is that it's not out for PC, and I'm currently refusing to buy any consoles because I don't know, I just can't justify it. It's like I don't want to feed their ideas that like they can get me to buy a console. Like it's the same thing with I want to buy a PS4 because they have Spider-Man and I could also play Red Dead, and they have a few new games this year. Like there's a samurai game that looks really cool. I'm just like, no, it's not worth it. Don't buy a console. I don't need any more technological crap.
Yeah. Well, not having a job and not playing video games, I had kind of all the time in the world for about 3 weeks. So I literally wrote a half a book
That's
in
pretty
a few
awesome.
weeks. I was just writing a blog every day. Everybody online was probably getting tired of it. But
I think people enjoy your writing.
yeah, for the most part, I think some say this is too much. I can't read that much, which I don't believe. But
Yeah.
I was literally writing a 1,200 word blog every day for a while there, because I
that's
had
quite a bit.
nothing else to do except meditate and read and then write.
Well, if you ever want to write some news, feel free to write for our site. We're always looking for writers.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I tried last night to watch the news, and because they're having the war over the wall, so Trump was giving an address from the White House, and so I got in a little late, but I was watching the reports of it, and I just couldn't hardly stand to watch it. This sounds kind of something, but just his raccoon eyes from the spray tan or whatever stupid crap. I don't get it. Because Mom wouldn't even let me go out of the house like that. She would say, "We got to do something. Let's put a little makeup on that or something, because that looks dumb." And I couldn't even, get past that, much less the crazy things he's going to say, and I just can't hardly watch it anymore. I don't know if it's depressing or sad or scary. Maybe all of those things.
I was gonna say it's probably all three wrapped into one.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if even conservatives, even that evangelical base might be pulling away a little bit now. Just kind of hear inklings of that. But,
yeah, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, as the Republicans have held by him for so long, and I'd say until he leaves the presidency, at least until this next 2 years are up, I don't think until they can pick someone else, they have to stick by their man. At least that the hardcore Trumpers, I think, will always be hardcore Trumpers at least until someone knocks them out. But yeah, I mean, I think
Falwell said there's nothing that he could do, that would cause him to leave.
He recently came out and said, Falwell Jr. and said that any Christian who doesn't support Trump is like morally bankrupt or something. I forget the exact wording he used, but yeah, and it's just like, yeah, you're a sycophant at that point. You've closed your eyes and ears to any sort of criticism and debate, and I don't know. I think a lot of those people literally are turned off. Like Lily was texting me today. Lily, who hopefully will be on the podcast this weekend. She was texting me today, just showing me all this stuff. She was having a debate with another Trump sycophant, just a MAGA chud, that she was just going back and forth with him, and he just wouldn't answer any of his questions, and he just kept. It's the normal thing with people who don't really have a clear point of view or like a real argument, is they just keep moving the goalposts. Yeah. So she basically was arguing to him like, he said like, oh, these people could just wait 6 to 9 months and pay $40,000 or something and come into the country legally. And she was basically like, yeah, like he like mentioned in his post too something about them like fighting poverty or something, like they're in poverty. She's like, yeah, well, I'm someone who's like not really technically impoverished, and like I can't pay $40,000 to get into another country. So like, how are they going to do it? And he just wouldn't answer a question and just kept moving the goalposts. Well, that's not our problem. Well, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, I mean, it's the fine argument to make, I guess, if you are a cold person who doesn't really care about other people, but especially if you're going to call yourself a Christian with this ideology, like I don't think there's any way that those two things can match up, unless I don't know what Bible you're reading.
Yeah, that's what I heard a pastor say. Refugees just kind of reminded that Jesus as a baby was a refugee, and certainly if you're gonna follow most religions that aren't just way out there are going to say, love your neighbor and accept the foreigner. I mean, it's.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and if you really want to get into it, there's a lot of things that Jesus said that were like very radical and maybe even socialist. Like, it's just like, give up all your things, give them to the poor, and follow me. And you got Jerry Falwell Jr. and all these mega pastors living in millions of dollars homes and begging their followers to pay for their private jets. It's just like, no, man, that's not even remotely Christ-like. You're if anything, you're the most like the Pharisees that anyone could call out.
Right. Yeah, and so it's just hard. It's hard to listen to the news or anything like that. Not that you want to ignore what's going on, but
yeah, I would say try not to get discouraged. And I don't know, I watch like a lot of live stuff and I get really into the debates, but I try to partition those parts of my brain. Like, for instance, I watched they were electing Speaker of the House and Nancy Pelosi won, and that's probably the best thing that could have happened. But I was just like, I got banned from the comments eventually because I just kept going after people, and on Twitter they can like, basically people can like get mad at your comments and like vote to like say you said something offensive. Even like I used some bad words, but like quote unquote bad word. I was being a naughty boy saying naughty words, but like, even in some of the ones I didn't really even say any. I don't think I said any curse words, and like people were still like downvoting my thing and like trying to flag it, and like eventually I got banned from the comments. But I was just like, I mean, Nancy Pelosi is probably the best choice, but I was trying to get people to be realistic. I was like, she's not a good choice. Like, but people, they buy into the person that they want to support, and they won't accept any criticism or do any sort of critical thinking about it. And
Right.
that's, Nancy Pelosi is a Democrat, and she's corporate. I would call her a corporatist, like, middle of the road centrist Democrat, like third way Democrat. But at the same time, like, it definitely happens on both sides. But these Trump people are just like a different breed of like brainwashed like cult members that it's just like amazing. But I would say what my point that I was trying to get into that with is don't get too discouraged, and I would say read print media and things like that. Like, I also have trouble like listening to Donald Trump speak, because the fact that anyone can take that guy seriously is just, it's beyond me. Like, just the fact that he can barely string together a cohesive sentence that doesn't just self-negate itself.
We tried to watch something on, there's a series on Netflix about him. We tried to watch that too. We made it through the first episode. That was enough. It's about when he's building the Trump Tower and things like that. And anyway, so, and speaking of your sister, Lily, I don't think I would want to argue with her. I'm not sure what that guy was thinking. He just didn't know what he was getting into.
Yeah.
But
I think that's right. And I think that's what he kind of figured out pretty fast. And then he just kept, basically repeating the same Fox News talking points and things like that. So
what you do when you're losing. So.
Yeah. I've found that a lot of people end up, I don't know, there's like a few political arguments I think that I can have now online where it basically ends up being that they say like a few things and then they just stop responding, because there's no way to like the Medicare for, like, there's a couple foregone debates, like the Medicare for all one is, I think, one that's over now. I think it'll be a while before it gets passed, especially with the Democrats passing like PAYGO and things like that, and basically shooting themselves in the foot. But I think those things are a foregone conclusion, or at least they're basically inarguable. Like the fact that you can cover everyone and it costs less than our current system. I mean, I just don't understand how you can argue that. And I think most people can't, is the thing. Like, there's no, unless you just want to argue that you don't really, you want to save personally. If the argument is, I want to save more money for myself, and I don't care if around 40,000 people die every year in America because they don't have health care. Yeah. And that's something that doesn't happen in any other modern nation. Then I mean, that's an argument. I mean, I would totally disagree with you. I think that you're kind of a monster, but I mean, that's an argument that you can make. And
you realize,
at least logically sound.
This is kind of off subject, but did you realize there's 100,000 people a year that die from medical coverage in the United States? That's like taking the prescription they were prescribed, or dying in surgery, or like, Lily's trying to find a neurosurgeon right now, and the one they were scheduled to have is getting sued for incompetence because the one of his patients just kind of bled out while he's having surgery. So I know that's a little off topic, but just, it's surprising to me that people have so much confidence in medicine. And
well, I think there's somewhat of a reason to have confidence in medicine, because it's science, and it's well founded. Of course, it's still being developed, but yeah, I'd agree with you. I think it's still a very dangerous thing. I mean, when I went into surgery just to repair my collarbone, they were like,
you could die.
Like there's yeah, exactly. I mean, you could, the anesthesia could take wrong, or, we could accidentally cut some vein or artery, and you could be in have a very serious problem. So they basically gave, they were like, you can just let it heal on its own. It's going to be really messed up and like misshapen, and you're going to have a messed up collarbone for the rest of your life. But, these are your options kind of thing. But I would agree with you. I think the big part from that is, I bet a lot of that is from prescription drugs more than
it's
malpractice from doctors.
It's mostly just from drugs.
Yeah, which is why there's a lot of things that should go into that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So of course, that would lead me into my favorite topic, of course. that we could do away with a lot of prescription drugs if we'd just eat right, but we're a ways from that.
It's going to take time. I feel like there's a lot more people that are being more conscious about that in America. I mean, it's slow, but everything most things, not everything, but most things that are worthwhile take time. Yeah. And of course, like, look at ideological changes. I mean, look how far we've come in a couple hundred years. I mean, it hasn't, in some ways you could say we've made leaps and bounds, and in other ways we're still believing some of the same, like, there are some people that believe the same fairy tales and magic that we believed, 500-600 years ago,
right.
So, and to change someone's ideology, or even within a family, it sometimes takes generations to switch that sort of ideology. Right. So
yeah, and they're trying to figure out, how much they say, genetics loads the gun, but you pull the trigger. But they're trying to figure out now if it's, if it's even genetics as much as it is just family habits. You eat the same way and exercise the same amount and live the same lifestyles, you kind of get the same results. So,
well, there's so many factors that go into those sorts of things. I mean, look at all the variables that go into something. So, first, number one, what country do you come from? Next, what region do you come from? And then you can look at, some sort of, like, if you look at perhaps like, ethnic heritage or something like that. Like, a lot of those things affect your diet, your exercise, things like that. Like, there's a big thing that a lot of variables that go into that is what I'm saying. So I think maybe I think genetics certainly have some role to play, but there's so many other variables that go into that.
And I've heard people say that, like about the blue zones and so on. You've heard of the blue zones. So blue zones are where people have the most people that live to 100 in those areas, and then they can trace it to, or they could suppose, I guess, from the diet that's the most common denominator in all those blue zones is their diet, and you could say that's their genes, or you could say, well, they work more or whatever, but it's suspicious. At least it's highly suspicious that has a lot to do with it, and usually it's a plant-based diet. So
or very close to that. I mean, it's definitely it would definitely be hard to tell. I think I don't know, it's hard, and again, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And I mean, now with the way work works, I mean, a lot of people are sedentary a lot of the time. So that, I mean, of course, diet is a huge factor. Exercise is also a big factor. So the fact that people are, I mean, some people are working 10, 11-hour days, and they're basically just sitting the whole time. Like, that's not healthy for you either. Or to be stressed out all the time. I mean, stress plays a huge factor in blood pressure and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's certainly very, very multifaceted, and I think we need to start taking a bigger look at a lot of those things.
Yeah, speaking of physical, did you hear I passed the postal exam yesterday?
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. Are you trying to be a postal worker?
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, one of my options, that kind of trying to restart, and do something different. And so that's at least one of the options. I've kind of always, my mom was a postmaster, whatever you want to call it, and so I know a little bit about it, and I kind of like the idea with that type of job of it being real portable. When I was a safety manager for an ethanol plant, that's real specialized, and so over those 15 years, I kind of migrated into a real narrow window where if you're unhappy, then you can go to another one that's just real similar and maybe even worse, which is what happened. And there's 20 of them all around the country, but that's not very much.
Yeah, exactly.
And where if being a school teacher paid anything, I might do that. But
yeah, if you get enough degrees, you could maybe work at a college or a community college, but some of those are probably hard to come by too.
Just a little Kind of gotten tired of paying for school, and we'll see. Kind of in the next session of life here, see what happens and where I end up. I would be a vegan chef, but that doesn't pay anything, and you've got to work 16 hours a day.
Yeah, food industry makes no money. I have a buddy who basically has been trying to be a chef, has worked in the food industry forever, and he's still not making a ton of money.
I think what's a definite
rough.
possibility during my retirement years may be like a food truck, where I could do it on weekends. Like down in Kansas City, they have First Fridays, and people flood the art district during that time and go to the microbreweries and eat from the food trucks and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I could see myself doing some of that a little bit later, but I gotta get to that point.
When you retire, just move to Taiwan. You work in the night market.
There you go. Yeah.
It's always an option. I mean, I've thought about doing the same thing. Once I get, because I can't do it right now, just based on the work rights. But after I have another year and a half, and then I can get my permanent residency, and then after that, I can kind of do whatever I want. So if I wanted to open up a little stall or same thing, like have a little food truck, because that's a lot of people do. They have. I'm sure when you were here, you noticed all the we call them blue trucks. I like those little. I mean, they go from anywhere from basically food trucks to basically work trucks, things like that. Everyone basically uses them. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people just set up those food trucks and then pull up to a park, on a busy day and, go to town selling whatever sorts of goods.
What I saw them doing was they would take their scooter and then put their booth behind it, have like a screwdriver holding it on. That's just the wildest thing I've ever seen.
That's the night market for sure. Yeah.
God, huge compared to the little scooter that was pulling it with the little screwdriver and the hitch. And
yeah, it's basically 125, 150 cc scooter pulling, close to 1,000 pounds of weight.
And sometimes, then all their other stuff are their 4 family members on the same scooter. I mean, that kind of stuff is just wild. That's what makes it interesting, I think, is that kind of stuff. Of course, you get into,
a different world for
sure. Places in the United States where you would see similar stuff. I've seen in Mound City, where you went to high school, I saw a person riding in the front of a front end loader, bouncing down the street, and could just flip out of there at any time, land on his head, and
yeah, exactly, and that's it.
That's hard to watch when you're a safety guy. So maybe it's good I'm not a safety guy anymore, or for right now, or whatever.
I was gonna say I see people sometimes over here doing stuff that I would say is not safe, or at least not up to safety code, and I always think, well, Dad wouldn't approve of that. Like I see a lot of the Taiwanese construction workers, they do this thing where they stand on the top. They don't stand on the top rung of the ladder, but they stand on either the second from the top, or the first rung down or the second rung down, and they walk the ladder around while they're up there like 20 feet. And I'm like, my dad would be yelling at you right now. This is not within just safety regulations.
2 seconds.
This is not OSHA certified.
And crawl down and scoot it over.
Yeah, exactly.
Or get a bigger ladder. Get the bigger ladder that's probably like 10 feet away.
Yeah, exactly. It's absurd.
Sometimes what people do. And anyway,
speaking
of the night market, you gotta go say hi to my noodle man down there.
I saw them the other day, but because literally my new apartment is maybe 30-second walk from the night market. So I saw them the other day, but I passed by them too quick, and I kind of made eye contact for a second, and then I passed by, and then I realized it was them, and I was like, oh, that would be, I don't know, I don't want to say hi now, but I'll go by there and say hi sometime. I'll say you're thinking of them.
The happiest person I've ever seen in Taiwan, because because I liked his noodles, or came back, or whatever you told him. I don't know what you told him, but he was so happy after that.
Yeah, he was excited. I don't know. I think I just told him, trying to think back. It's been a little bit, but I basically just told him, oh, like, this is my dad's second time in Taiwan, and he remembered you
Okay.
basically, and specifically like requested that we come back here to have your noodles, and like he thinks they're really good, like, and so yeah, it was something like that. Like he remembered your noodles enough to want to come back to the night market and go
Yeah.
here, and so yeah, I think he was pretty stoked
So
on that.
the main thing was probably just that I ate it and it didn't kill me or it didn't, Then I'm like, I got to go back to
Yeah.
that because that was safe. But they really worked. They were pretty good. I mean, I liked it.
Yeah, it's I mean it's all, I mean, for as open and seemingly potentially dangerous as it is, there's quite a bit of food safety, and also not there's really no, I've never gotten ill from eating over here, or really had any sort of problems like that. I got a pretty strong stomach, but I actually, even in like friends who are pretty, get queasy pretty easily. I've never met too many people that come here that say they can't eat the food, unless they can't eat the food because they're just, the only thing they can eat is like meat and potatoes. Basically, they're just not adventurous.
I'm glad
when
we
it comes to
discovered
food.
the pancakes last time. That was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. Those are Taiwan staple. So next time you guys come out, we'll get more. And I really failed as a son and a promoter of Taiwan culture that I didn't get you guys to eat stinky tofu
Yeah.
last time. So that's my mission, is to get you back out here so you can eat stinky
You've
tofu.
mentioned it a few times. I don't know why.
Well, you guys definitely have. You've definitely smelled it in
sure,
the night market.
And
Yeah.
I've seen the signs and so
I
on.
gotta. Yeah, I gotta make that happen, because stinky tofu it's a uniquely Taiwan experience.
Yeah.
I think.
So my goal is to go to Taiwan without suffering next time. So the first time I was kind of sick, and the second time I crashed
Yeah.
and was in pain. So maybe next time, hopefully it's not worse, but maybe it's better.
Well, maybe next time, either. Yeah, I've thought about this. I've gone over this in my head. So probably either what we might do is, instead of getting scooters, I'll try to get my car license by then, and then I'll just drive you guys around the car. We can go everywhere you guys want to go.
I kind of like the gorge. When we took the bus there and then just walked, because we got down to the small stuff and got to see all the little things, and that was good. We didn't see hardly any of it.
I love Taroko. Yeah, that's why I say we have to have some sort of motor vehicle. That's why I wanted to take the scooters, is because if you can, like, that was beautiful. I've never done the hike that we did, and it was great. But if you can get into some of those places, you can see that times 10, and there's hot springs down in there and stuff, and it's gorgeous. Not pardon the pun for Taroko Gorge.
Is that what it means?
No, I'm just saying Taroko Gorge, and I said
gorgeous,
it was gorgeous.
the gorgeous gorge. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Took a lot of food. You could gorge yourself at the gorgeous gorge. Right.
I should have known that you'd have more puns.
Rapunzel.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's so much more to see. I mean, you've been to, the first time you came, you basically stayed in the north, right? You just went to Zhongli, Taipei. That was about it, right? Yeah. We went to, last time we went to Shimen, the dam there, the reservoir. That was beautiful, but the water level was way too low. It's way more beautiful when the water's high. And Taroko Gorge is also very, very beautiful, but yeah, there's so much more to see down there. And I don't know, maybe next time I take you guys to some of the mountains. There's like, we went to Ali Mountain, Ali San, and it's just incredible, like getting up to those high points, and it's just like you're above the clouds and stuff. It's kind of surreal.
So you guys been on any vacations
for
for a while? I saw pictures not too long ago.
No, we had. Yeah, that was probably when Abby and I went to Alisan, and Abby Ari met us down there, and so the three of us kind of walked through there. It was kind of quick, but we went there. I'm trying to think if there's any other places we've been to recently. We just got through the longest stretch of like no vacation time. So basically from October to New Year, there's no vacation. So that's like the big stretch of like no days off. But now we're gonna have a lot of vacation soon. So we had New Year's, we had 2 days off, and I think we had 2 days off, and then next month is Chinese New Year, so we get 9 days, which is gonna be fantastic. And then there's a holiday in Taiwan on February 28th, 228 holiday, that we'll get 4 days off. So February is going to be like the cash cow of vacation. We're going to have so much time off.
Well, I've had like over 30 days off here. It's the first time in probably 30 years that I've taken any time, significant time off other than a week or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually not even a week. I usually take long weekends, and every once in a while kind of a week, during New Year's probably. But so this has been interesting. I'm getting kind of anxious now. I'm ready to go back to work. Just go do something.
I'm trying to get myself more comfortable with taking a little bit of time off, because I've been in Taiwan 3 years now, and I haven't taken. This year was the first year I took off more than a week for vacation. I think I took off, but I only took off 8 days, so it's basically a week.
Do you remember building the deck on Lake Shore there?
In Big Lake?
Yeah.
I do. In the back,
I don't know how old you were there, but I guess you were. How old were you?
Probably.
Oh yeah.
Junior high school-ish.
Yeah. So
I was at least junior high school, because we moved there when I was in junior high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one of the things I did while I've had this time off. I'm building another deck on the back of this house.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures from that. It looked good.
Yeah, it's still continuing. So I kind of need to go back to work so I can stop.
That's how the deck was in Big Lake too. It started as a back deck, and then eventually it turned into like a lower, like, flat area, and it just kept expanding.
And then a patio
exactly. I feel like if you have enough time, you'll just build a second house.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the money, kind of run out of money there too.
Yeah, that's true.
So my book's going to be partially self-published, so that'll take money also. So for a lot of reasons, I really need to get back to work.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, hey, hold on 1 second for me.
Okay.
All right.
You may play some interlude music. I wasn't supposed to pause or anything, was I?
No. It's good that you didn't pause. This makes editing much easier for me.
Okay.
All right. So you're saying you mentioned earlier that you're writing a bunch. You basically wrote like half a book, and you just said that you're self-publishing. So what's the book? Explain for everyone what's your book idea? What's the process, and how far along is that whole thing?
Okay. So the book kind of started a year and a half ago when I started questioning some of my beliefs, and took a break from being a pastor, and so I started writing the blog and just talking about random things, but somewhere in there it kind of got a theme to it, and the theme is, as I was raising children, or when I look at my children, or when I look at my grandchildren, then that seems to spark this thought, when I consider God, or when I'm trying to reevaluate what I think about God and what He must be like, she must be like, or what that, people want to call it energy or whatever, or essence, whatever you want to call it. But when I consider I can't remember what the 12 steps call it. What do they call it? A significant other. Um,
Uh-huh.
you know, when I consider that, it kind of changes it if I also think about my children, because when if God, kind of a basic assumption, if God
Mm-hmm.
is there and necessary, then he's
Uh-huh.
got to be better than me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for instance, one of the subjects might be hell, and I don't know what your audience is what they can relate to or respond to, but so
Yeah.
if, there's different versions of hell, but if you believe hell is a eternal torture chamber, and a common, common dialogue or reference point for Christianity is that God is like Father,
Mm-hmm.
or if you prefer the Shack's version, Papa's a, a black woman, But
Yeah.
anyway, it's a motherly, fatherly figure,
It's a parental figure.
parental figure, and they've got to at least be better than I am. Well, then I look at my children, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I promised you guys was primarily, number one, I won't leave you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you do, I'm still
Yeah.
here. But then on that subject, though, of hell, I can't imagine sending any one of my kids to an eternal torture chamber, no matter what
Yeah,
they
I
did.
mean,
I mean, no.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't even imagine sending my worst enemy to what a lot of evangelical Christians consider hell. Like,
Right.
I've had, people who were pretty close friends in high school who were very, I would say now I would consider them very fundamentalist evangelical Christians who have told me books or accounts that they believe that hell is like, and I'm just like, why would you send even your worst enemy, even the person that you think is like the lowest scum of the earth, and especially if you're a morally upright, perfect being, why wouldn't you try to reform those people? I mean, and maybe you can say that there are people that can't be reformed, but I don't know if I could even
Yeah.
see sending someone. It's very hard for me to see sending
And
anyone to a place like that.
and that you look at it realistically, that comes from our tribal origins and our
Mm-hmm.
tribal views about God, and then just from our adolescent type behavior. But for us, really, in the broad thing, that for us to have to punish our enemies, it's an adolescent kind of
Yeah.
behavior that
Yeah. Adolescent at best.
you make me so angry,
Mm-hmm.
that I not only give you some punishment or detain you or you know have you admit you're
Mm-hmm.
wrong, but I'd punish you for forever. That's an
Yeah.
old tribal view that we've hung on to, and then people like Dante have given us some visual,
Mm-hmm.
for how we want to describe it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's basically revenge and anger and childlike wrath. That anyway. So, but the thing that cleared it up was I think about my kids. There's a scene in the movie The Shack where Sophia, who is wisdom, asks the guy, what's his name? Anyway, the guy in the shack, the main character,
Mm-hmm.
which one of your kids are you going to send to hell? And you know, because
Mm-hmm.
he was saying life's not fair and all that. And he said, well, which one would you choose? And so a lot of things like that got me thinking. And so then there's about 20 chapters in the book like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, then with nationalism and God turning his back on us, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
subjects like that I just kind of went through that process of saying, this is what happened with my kids. This is how I thought about them, and this is how that changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of with God being kind of an unreasonable parent. Like you can't ever
Yeah.
please him.
Yeah.
and all those
Yeah.
things. I kind of went through the logic of what happened when I was trying to raise you guys. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you start out with kind of unrealistic expectations, but you mature,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like if I could learn from that and mature, then why did God stay worse than me? You know,
Yeah.
why did God
Exactly.
kind of hang on to an immature tribal? You know, and I say that word not. I hope you understand what I mean by tribal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just
Just yeah.
it's just
Part
an
of a
kind
group.
of infantile,
Mm-hmm.
you know, early in human history kind of thinking that if we've grown out of that, and if I can grow out of that as a parent, surely God's better than that. If He's God,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if He's not, then
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why would yeah, I mean, yeah, especially if you're going from the Christian paradigm, which would say oh, I think almost all Christians would argue that he's omniscient, omnipresent. Yeah, how is your yeah, how is your God a troglodyte, but I'm I'm not in favor of the death penalty, but God is going to damn people to hell for eternity.
right,
Yeah, it's I mean, and especially in an information age where people are quote unquote more and more people are quote unquote woke. Like, yeah, it's not only just doesn't make sense, but I mean, even if you were just going at it from a pure messaging standpoint, it doesn't play well for your God to be a first century warlord when we're living in a time, especially in America, of relative peace.
yeah,
Yeah, not to speak of all the the wars that are happening all over the world, but the world has developed far past you know
yeah,
this is my enemy, so I'm going to banish them for eternity.
right. And now I talk about nationalism and some of those things, violence and war,
Mm-hmm.
um, being rejected by God, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which some of those things like justice. And anyway, it was just kind of as things came to me, and the editors will probably, hopefully, kind of clean that up and organize
Mm-hmm.
it in a way that makes sense. But
Yeah.
it's been very helpful for me because when I write, that's when I figure out what I think,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's good.
That's good stuff, man. I mean, yeah, I definitely have found podcasting is also a way for me to, test ideas, and so has writing for our site. So I find that that's usually true. It's just you sit down by yourself and take a bunch of sources and figure out, all right, what do I think, and then
Yeah,
you have to critically, of course you have to critically challenge yourself and challenge the sources that you're taking in.
yeah. There's something about telling a story that
Mm-hmm.
does your story make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start to write and you start to organize it, if it's got to kind of my
Yeah, it
my
has to have
pastor says my
cohesiveness.
pastor says coalesce into a singularity. I told him the other day I'd blame you for teaching me that phrase, but he used it for some biblical kind of spiritual thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, if your story doesn't make sense, right? I mean, it's not everything's based on logic, right? Some of the most
Mm-hmm.
serious things are illogical, but it's got to make some kind of sense. It can't.
Yeah.
You know, I can't. I can't realistically and logically observe that this is how I interact with my children, and then if you trust the Bible, then if the Bible says that God is love, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if, if it if it doesn't make any sense at all, yeah, I mean, there's a balance of
Yeah.
there's things that are mystical, there's things that are non-dual. Some
Mm-hmm.
things aren't either or; they're both and.
Yeah.
Um, and some things are just mystery. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but um, at at the same time, if
Mm-hmm.
if God's our parent and God's supposed to be better than us, then it ought to be somewhat. And besides that, the Christian deal says that we're created in the image of God. So I've got to at least be somewhat like Him, you know, if I'm going to buy into that ethos, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, but I don't know. I think that's what's so that's where a lot of problems arise for if you want to create a conglomerate of like the Christian faith when it comes to in America. It's like when people see Trump supporters or even Trump himself claiming the Christian faith and then see him spouting these things that are clearly incongruous with the loving God, then it turns a lot of people off to the faith in general, and also to that political ideology. But I think I think that makes creates a conundrum in a lot of ways for the Christian faith. But obviously, the U.S. is still like a majority Christian nation. I think it's close to 80% believe in God, and it's well over 50% that believe in quote unquote the God of the Bible. So it's obviously still quite a Christian nation, but there's a lot of conflicts within that. I think based on the things that you're exactly what you just said.
And we've talked about it sometimes. I talk about, that when you get a thing like Trump, then sometimes that swings things because he's so out there. But what I hear in the circles that I'm optimistic about, I would call them water to wine circles and things like that. Where I've been spending my time lately, what I see a lot in those circles is people calling out, especially fundamentalist evangelicals, and calling them out basically as a failed experiment.
Yeah.
That, this real literal view of the Bible, extreme views that they hang on to, and all of those things, they're calling it out, and people are able to separate the two. Sometimes it takes a while. It takes a while for us to rebuild, deconstruct, and reconstruct, or remodel, or whatever you want to call that. But I think people have that ability to distinguish between, and even like a fundamentalist Muslim and a normal Muslim,
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Did I say that right?
It's fundamentalist. A fundamentalist and
a Muslim. A Muslim, is that the right? I remember all my friends saying Muslim. I don't know where they got that.
A Muslim.
A Muslim. But
one of them Muslims.
Yeah. So it's really.
Some people probably have more colorful words to describe a Muslim than that.
I heard somebody last night. I can't remember. I think it was a comedian. He was talking about, the guy at the rap concert that's standing in the aisle and doing the hand gestures and knows every single word to the rap song, and he's I don't know if I'd say this, he's white, he's not very gangster or whatever, but he's just making everybody look bad, and he just related that to, well, that's Al Qaeda, or you know what I mean, and in some ways that's Trump and Falwell Jr. and those guys. The trouble is they're leading an army of people. But
I think that's a huge problem. I mean, to go back to like Christian symbolism, I mean, those people, you want to call, quote unquote, the people of Christianity are sheep, but like those people are sheep in the negative sense. Like they're literally just astray. They have no, cognitive thinking. They have, they don't challenge themselves or their beliefs in any way. They don't take they don't have critical thinking skills to even the nth degree. Like they don't have any sort of inkling of those things. So yeah, I mean, and some of those people, like I've discussed this in previous episodes, is there are a certain fringe of the United States, whether you talk about it in a religious sense or political sense, they're just I describe them as TFGs. They're just this comes from Kyle Kalinske, who's a political pundit I watch. They're too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally nothing you can do. They'll never be swayed. They'll take that, pry my ideas from my cold dead hands type thing.
So reminded me, one of the chapters in the book is after something I heard when I went to my spiritual direction thing, and there's people from all different denominations there, and it's taught by Benedictine nuns, and this nun was talking, and she was basically going through some spiritual history, and she said one of the things we have to understand about all of our religious history, and this is the statement she made. She said, none of us are right. She said all of our religion is at least partially borrowed from society, and none of us is exactly right. So that in that 5 years ago, that was my thing, is what if I'm wrong? Or maybe I'm not right. Maybe I didn't get all this right. And people sometimes will, they originate their faith in childhood, and I think it's healthy to go back and say, maybe I'm not right. And also just to realize that none of us are exactly right.
Well, yeah, I think that's true in every facet of your life. If you think that you're 100% right on everything, then you're
probably mistaken.
That's not even. Yeah, no, you're not probably. You're absolutely mistaken.
Yeah.
It's absurd to think that what you believe is the absolute truth, no matter what, or you have. Because this is a similar thing to Donald Trump when he says, like, I'm like a smart person. When you think that you're that smart, like people that we have all as a society have deemed super smart, Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein. When people say you're an Einstein, that means you're super smart.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Einstein never said I'm smart. He never said and he definitely never said I'm like a smart person,
right.
which means that you're demonstrably an idiot. But yeah, if you don't challenge yourself, then yeah, I think I think when you live in such a glass house and you're afraid to tinker with any pieces of your ideology, however big or small those things are, then I think that yeah, of course you have like a very fragile ideology, and that I don't know. I just don't understand how people can go through life being so unself-critical.
Yeah.
It's of course there's things like that for me, like where you're protective of certain parts of your beliefs and things like that, but eventually you have to say, all right, let me self-evaluate. And if there's no self-evaluation, then
unexamined life.
And you're not. Your values aren't worth much.
Yeah.
If you can't value them without being afraid that they're going to be broken, then maybe that speaks to how worthless that your values are, to put it a little bluntly, I guess.
So I think, and I would write a book if I knew how to, or knew all the specifics of this, but I just keep getting more and more convinced that everything boils down to fear.
Yeah.
And your generation is less in need of certainty than mine was, because we inherited, I don't know what we inherited, something from the Depression or something that made us more fearful. So when you're fearful, you need certainty. And your generation seems not to need as much. You can come to the end of a podcast and go, well, I guess we don't know. I don't know, but mine can't. Mine has to, you're right. I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else,
Yeah, I think maybe not using generations broadly, I think there's also some point to that where, your guys' generation is kind of in a middle ground. What is your generation described as? Because you're like you're not a baby boomer.
I think towards the end of the baby boomers, He may be almost into X or.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the baby boomers. I mean, really, like if you were born and you like in a point where you didn't have to actually participate in World War II, you had a pretty good life. I mean, in terms of especially if you're let me put caveats on that. If you were a white person and especially a white male, like you had a pretty good go of it. Like between post World War II and 1970s, about 70s, the greatest economy that the world has ever seen in America. It was amazing. Like, I mean, you had upwards of 90% taxes on the highest echelons of society. Like, it was doing very well for the people in power.
Yeah, I'd say our fear didn't come from anything that we had to be afraid of, but we kind of inherited it from our parents and what they taught us, and out of their fear, we kind of inherited some of that.
Yeah, and also I think some of that. I mean, you're parsing these things out, but I think some of these things also come from relative sense of power and part of it is I think part of it is fear, and part of it is you're also while you can be in fear, you also come from a relative sense of security in the fact that you can go get especially again as a white person, you can go get a job and you're relatively secure,
right?
So you're not being challenged that much, even though there was a lot of xenophobia, and I mean xenophobia is still very prominent today. But I think fear is definitely a huge motivating factor. It's very easy to get people to coalesce around their fears. I mean, look at a lot of the movements today, like, look at the people that are in favor of the border wall. They're so scared of these people coming over the border right now. And there hasn't been a major terrorist attack from over the border essentially ever. Like in the past 100 years, there hasn't been a terrorist come from Guadalajara, Mexico, and murder a bunch of people in San Antonio.
There hasn't really even been any terrorists come from the southern border.
No, there almost hasn't been any terrorists coming from outside the country.
Yeah.
In general, they're all homegrown. They're white people that have too many guns and listen to too much Alex Jones, and then they go, well, Pizzagate was real, so I got to go shoot up a concert in California or Las Vegas.
Right.
They're homegrown terrorists, and almost all of them are white men. So it's absurd.
Yeah.
But you still get these people that are so scared that they will give billions of dollars to build a absurd racist border fence on the south of the United States.
Right.
And I'm not for open borders. I don't want to dissolve the country, but I don't see the reason to build a $60 billion border fence.
Yeah, it's sort of absurd. You just wherever you build it, go somewhere else, come in from the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean or on an airplane.
The whole idea, yeah, exactly. Most of the people that come into the country illegally, like it's 70 to 80% of the people that come in illegally, are people that are technically in the country illegally, not come in illegally, but are in the country illegally. They come on overstayed visas. So yeah, they come in on planes, they come in on boats. It's not people that come over. There's net zero migration. Recently it was net negative, but I think currently it's net zero to Mexico. And you have the caravan that wasn't technically from Mexico. It went through Mexico. But these people, it's not like these people are coming to commit terrorist acts. They came in a caravan, which is like completely obvious. So if they were being terrorists, like they wouldn't do that. So it makes absolutely no sense. And again, look at the statistics on terrorism. Almost all of it is homegrown in the United States. A lot of it is recently, like there was neo-Nazi attacks. There's people that are trying to, like when Obama was president, there was multiple people that were white supremacists trying to, but you don't hear about any of that because no one wants to talk about it. It's not comfortable, but it's very easy to say, like you're saying, from a point of fear, it's these other people that they're not Americans and they're trying to sneak into our country. But it's just not a fact of reality. These are, we're not having real, if you're having a conversation about poor, like dirt poor farmers from, Honduras that are coming into the country committing terrorist acts. It just, you can't show a statistic where that's actually a realistic thing.
Right, right. So so the book is, I think, probably be published middle of this year, I think.
Okay.
And it might just come out on Kindle first
Mm-hmm.
and try that. So yeah, it's starting an edit this week, so we'll see what happens. It's really, if you ever decide to do that, it's a little bit of a painful process because you have to like kind of give birth, and then somebody starts hacking it up and changing it around, and even though you want it to be better, it's just kind of painful to change your original thoughts.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this will be technically your third book, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad there's hardly any copies of the first two, though, 'cause I don't know if I'd want anybody to read them now. But
yeah.
I'm technically the third.
Okay.
Hopefully not the last, but we'll see.
I mean, I feel like you got time to write more. I mean, feel it out, do your thing.
That's one of those things like, millions of people want to be in a movie, and there's a few people around the country that people call to beg them to be in movies, Same way with books. There's probably a million people sitting around trying to write their first book, and then there's some people that, the publishers are seeking out. But for me, it's an outlet.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's therapeutic and good for you, I mean.
And I'd just like to see it preserved, and. So anyway.
Yeah, I think that's similar to what Ari and I have discussed about this podcast. Is, whether or not we, in the future have, thousands of listeners or something ridiculous like that. Which, I mean, right now we probably have 6 listeners, but. It's a good mental exercise to challenge each other, and not only challenge each other, but more on a more basic level, just have conversations, and to put something out there that people might listen to, whether they do or not. You have to make sure you have to refine your thoughts a little bit more and make sure that you're not just spouting garbage that you might on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's a good exercise. And then also just, to have conversations like the conversation I've had with you for episode 10, the one I had with Aaron, like I said, that will be up soon. It's just things that maybe in a year or two, it's just like, yeah, maybe I want to go back to that and listen.
Right.
And if this keeps going, then I'll have a lot more of those to listen to. And so it's just, it's kind of like an archive of things you can go back to and go, that was an interesting, thought-provoking conversation. Like, let's go back and revisit that.
Yeah, that's good.
Same thing with articles. I mean, which is, to a lesser degree than a book. Obviously, that's a lot more work. But, I've written, a 2,000-word article on Medicare for All, and it's just like, that helped me refine my argument for, when I want to talk about that subject with people.
Our dog is staring at me. I think he wants to go outside.
I want to play with him. I haven't seen him in like a year.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that, like 2 years.
Yeah. You have to come home this summer or sometime.
Yeah, we're planning a road trip this summer. So we'll definitely, if we do the road trip, which we probably will, we'll definitely swing by. It's gonna be a crazy road trip. We're trying to do like the whole United States.
Yeah.
Basically, so.
Who's doing that?
But we'll definitely. Ari, Abby, and I, and then we're gonna like pick up friends on the way through the U.S.
Yeah.
Like do them for a couple, have them hang out with us for a couple days and go, and then they'll drive back or fly back or whatever. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll see.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think now that we've established the policy, I think you have to be back on for at least 30. And like I said, Lily is going to be on, so I don't know that you'll be able to cut in, but if you're around, you can maybe say a few words on that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Or if you want to do a podcast in between, let me know. We'll be around. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably just leave this out because she's gonna be here this weekend, I think, right?
Yeah, I'll probably do one. Man, I'm gonna have so much stuff to edit. I'm gonna stop editing. I'm just gonna put these up raw.
Yeah.
But
it probably wouldn't make too much difference.
Might make a little bit.
I did all of mine just raw. The 10 or 12 that we did. We just put them up like they were.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about it, but yeah, she'll be. I'm gonna do one probably tomorrow with Ari and Abby, and then she should be Saturday or Sunday. So I have a lot to do. So maybe tomorrow morning I'll wake up early and edit 2 or 3 of them. Hopefully.
Good luck.
We'll see. I'll do my best.
Yeah. All right. Man.
Well,
good to talk to you.
It's good talking to you. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me know when you're around. You're free. We'll do another one soon. And is there anything you want to? I mean, besides the book, like, or even including the book, is there stuff you want to plug before I wrap it up?
No, just everything's on Karls Coaching. Karl with a K. So
it's karlscoaching.com.
Yep. And then the old, all the blogs are there, which is going to part of it's going to turn into a book, and then even the podcasts are there too. So, yeah, everything's there.
Yeah, you guys got to start doing more podcasts.
Yeah,
Are you done? Did you swear off podcasts for good?
No, we didn't, but we just we haven't done it in a while. It's real easy on whatever I'm on there.
Audacity?
Yeah, I mean, but with, what's my
like Blogspot or something?
That I do, where I have my website, it's WordPress.
Oh, WordPress, yeah. We have a WordPress website too, and everyone's like, wow, your website looks so professional.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just
But it's I mean, even
WordPress.
the podcast, all you do is just set a flag, and all of a sudden it's a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just we upload ours through a different site, but it's super.
And for a while, Mom and I tried using TalkShoe, and there was a weird thing on there, like somebody was like joining in. It's like kind of made that way, but they keep bumping in, and it'd mess up the audio and stuff, and so I think they got that problem fixed. TalkShoe is really nice because you can just basically do a conference call, even internationally, and you get real high quality audio. So it's a cool thing. It just adds a little layer of difficulty to it, though.
Yeah.
But it's kind of neat. Anyway.
That's cool.
Well, yeah, man. Appreciate you letting me hang out with you for a little while.
Anytime. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and spending the time.
Say hi to your friends. I'd like to meet them sometime.
All right. Maybe for depends on when you start working again, but maybe I'll ask them to all, at least maybe if I can get Abby or Ari or both of them on, we can do a little group discussion and figure out where that goes. That might be interesting to get some different voices on the podcast.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
We'll figure it out. Let me know when you're free. I'll be in touch.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll have my people call your people.
We'll do that. All right. Love you. See ya.
Right. I love you too, man.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. Well, there was Mr. Karl Forehand writing a book. I'll try to link to all his, I'll try to link to his website and let you guys know what's going on with that. We really appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully he shared this and some of you, water to wine people, stuff like that, listened up, heard what we had to say, had some fun with it. If you guys want to hear some more, maybe, this one was pretty laid back, just basically what would happen if I called my pops and I had a little conversation. But If you want to listen to some more political discussions or some more cut up stuff, not that we didn't have fun with this one because we laughed quite a bit, you can check out the other episodes. Everyone else, I appreciate you guys. If you could give us likes. We super like likes. It's cool. We don't get a ton of likes. If you can rate the podcast on your podcast app, it really means a lot. Especially iTunes, it'll bump us up in the charts. We have a lot of stuff like you can follow our Instagram, Twitter. You can follow our Facebook. All free trying to post any of the podcast links. Spotify, Podcast Addict, which is the one I use. iTunes, we're all free trying to pod. Any of that stuff, we really appreciate. You guys give us likes, comments, subscribes, all that business. But yeah, any little thing you guys can do, we really do appreciate it. If you guys got content or people that want to come on the podcast, even if you're a rando, if you can give me a good reason why you want to come on the podcast, we might let you on, because we're just trying to have conversations. We're trying to have fun. Like we discussed in this episode, we're trying to have meaningful conversations about the crazy world that we live in. But we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Don't forget to come back and have fun with us. But we will talk to you soon. I'll have lots more episodes up soon. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.